conference, and especially having the opening with the singing and the voice and the chanting, because I have just come recently from Malta, from the International Council of Nursing Conference. And Malta is the site of the oldest temple of the sleeping goddess. And I'm here to talk about my work in relation to the awakening of the sleeping goddess. And the awakening of the sleeping goddess is represented by the profession of nursing, the discipline of nursing, and its particular advancement as a discipline, as a profession, as a philosophy, as an ethic, as a formal practice model that represents transformation of self, of system, and of society and our planet Earth. Because human caring starts with self and our evolving consciousness. And it radiates out, as we've experienced, all the way out to the universe, including Mother Earth and the Divine Feminine, which we are awakening to rebalance and restore the yin and yang harmony that is so needed for our healing on the planet at this time. So as we step into a model of caring science, my work has tried to make explicit that as soon as you put the person, as soon as you put caring into a model of science, we have to acknowledge we have a different model of science. Especially now if we put consciousness, intentionality, love, and concepts like healing are not contained in our dominant model of science. So as we step into this model, no matter where we step into it, the starting point is self. And I teach when I need to learn. It's not like I know all of this, because it's bigger than I am. It's bigger than any of us. As we evolve in our consciousness and really touch base with the source that sustains us and our humanity and the planet Earth at this time. So I'm going to continue with the vibrations of this spiral that Jill created. By what I do in almost all of my talks, I have this Tibetan singing bowl, which has been calibrated by a sound master in Nepal, and it's calibrated to the vibrations of the human heart. And so as we just take another pause, and if your legs are crossed, uncross them. Allow yourself to be fully supported by the chair, and know you are supported. And just gently fall into your body. Take a deep breath and just feel fully embodied into your body by taking a deep breath and falling into your full embodiment. And then release your breath. And on the out breath, go ahead and release anything you brought into this space, including the inner chatter. Just gently empty out. And ever so gently fall into that still point that T.S. Eliot writes about. And just feel how good it is to be still, even momentarily. And just dwell in that quiet silence as the source of our connection with Source as you continue to breathe. And once again, fall into your heart center. And once again, see and visualize that white light that Jill introduced us with. and let that white light fill up your chest. And while you're breathing into your heart, bring to your mind's eye and your heart center someone or a situation or your life itself that you have total, full gratitude for. Fullness of gratitude and love. And radiate that throughout your chest. And extend those feelings as far out as you can possibly extend them through your mind's eye and your heart center. And in this same awareness, if there's any person or situation you need to forgive, please bring that person or situation to mind now, including yourself, if that's the case. And with this radiant light of love and gratitude, just forgive and bless that person or situation so you're no longer carrying it. And ever so gently, then radiate that light back from the cosmos to your heart center, and then pull that light all over you as a coat. Surround yourself with that. To remind ourselves that we are connected and also protected. And gently, when you're ready, come back into this space. So as you come back into this space, hopefully you're a little more present. You're a little more open and willing to take some chances with some of these ideas. I have been framing my work under the concept of Caritas more recently, in order to make explicit connections that caring has often been trivialized. It's like being a nice little person without meaning. That's a slogan. And so I've been trying to give it more meaning through the concept of Caritas, which is a Latin word, which reminds us that caring, even caring, is very fragile, it's delicate, it's very precious. And it's something that we have to be intentional and conscious about. It's here and then it's gone, it's here and then it's gone. And so the notion of Caritas also brings together the concepts of caring and love, and the energy of love, and returns us to the heart, turns us to the heart of our humanity, and turns us to the heart of our healing. So I'm going to just briefly touch on what is underneath this model of caring science, and then touch on the theory, some very brief aspects of it, and how it's manifesting in concrete rituals, manifesting and exemplifying the rituals, if you will, of how this is manifest in practice. So one of the parts of the caring science framework is to make explicit that we're into new territory, this non-local transcendent consciousness. We hear it in all kinds of different words. It can be referred to as unitary consciousness. It's something that we're all co-creating in this moment. It's not clear what it is yet. We're still manifesting it. But we're searching for new metaphors. Of course, the hologram is a common metaphor. But basically, it's a reminder that we're all connected. That consciousness transcends time, space, and physicality. And so I can be with someone in a caring moment, which is the essence of my theory, that how I am present in that caring moment is affecting that person and myself after I leave that person physically. So with this awakening, we have to become much more conscious that we're in this evolving worldview and we're trying to relocate ourselves from a different perspective, realizing that from human caring to eco-caring is one whole. And if the Earth doesn't survive, and if Mother Earth is not protected, if the goddess is not protected, we're not going to survive. It's also a reminder that our current healthcare, sick care systems that we've created in this westernized world is all arranged energetically under yang energy. And as Rachel Riemann has said in some of her writings and speakings, the human being cannot heal with yang energy. It requires yin energy to heal. So the essence of capturing a model of caring science is informed by the philosophy of Emmanuel Levinas, a French philosopher, who actually intersects with modern physics as well as with ancient traditions of Hildegard of Bingen. And Hildegard of Bingen was a healer, a mystic, a saint, a visionary, artist, musician. And I use this work, this visual, to convey a visual, if not artistic, if not metaphorical worldview for several reasons. Because Levinas says that ethics is first principle of science, and the ethic of belonging, he says we all belong to this infinite field of universal love. This cosmic love holds everything in its place. And we all belong to that before we are separate as separate beings. So this connects us across time and space and physicality, and unites us in what Hildegard of Bingen referred to as this field of consciousness, that the human body, the human, resides in a field of consciousness, rather than the consciousness being localized in the brain and the body alone. The other reason I use this is because indigenous people, Native American elder told me, another way to say this, is that we all come from the spirit world, and we come here to the earth plane for a given reason, to fulfill our soul's journey, whatever that is. And when we are returning to the spirit world, we get nervous. We receive the coming in, but we want to control the sacred circle of life. He went on to say to me, why is it we all love a newborn baby? We all love a newborn baby because they're fresh from the spirit world. They're total love. And then we get upset about that sacred return without awakening our consciousness. And some of the projects that I'm interested in exploring with my colleagues is the notion of conscious dying. A friend of mine just recently told me that because we have such an older collection of people now, and masses moving in this demographic shift to exploring this next horizon, he says maybe deathing is the next big adventure for us. So we'll see about that. But in the meantime, I also use this slide because of a definition of healing from my colleague Jenna Quinn, is healing is being in right relation. Being in right relation with Source. A reminder that Florence Nightingale said the nurse's responsibility is to put the patient in the best condition by which nature can heal. Healing is an inner process, not an outer cure and treatment process. It comes from within. We do the best we can, of course, with scientific medicine and treatment and cures, but the person's healing has to be an internal process. The other reason I use this slide is because when we are in a conscious, intentional caring moment with this heart-centered focus, we actually can help to open up that access to that higher consciousness or source, or we shut it down. So the other part of this formula, so to speak, of Levinas, is he says that we can either allow for the infinite evolution of our humanity or the totalizing of humanity. And when we turn our faces away from our humanity and that of another, we actually can set up a scenario where we can reduce other people to the moral status of an object. And when you can reduce another person to the moral status of an object, we can begin to justify doing things to them as an object we would never do to them as a fully functioning person. So all of this is connected to a deeper ethic that informs this work, and we now see love as a source for healing. This is a modern photograph just recently taken in Boulder, Colorado, where I live, the Rocky Mountain Cancer Center. Love heals as a reminder that something else goes on when we're into models of healing. So in a quick summary here then, the caring science is really informed as a sacred science. It is the ethic of belonging, that we all belong to this infinite field of love as the source of sustaining humanity and allowing the evolution of it. It's also a reminder that everything is connected and that we're working with this infinite field and the life force of our own self as well as another human being. So it's a mystery. We never know how we're touching the life of the universe. So we're moving beyond the body as a machine. We're into this opening, expanded view of person, that vibrational frequency of the light. And when Jill was talking about the voice and we were experiencing the voice, I was remembering again, Nightingale talked about the voice, the human voice in the healing. So now I'm going to switch and say another thing that's underpinning the caring science is the work of the heart science. And we now know from the recent work from many different sources, including Institute of Heart Math that I've been working with closely, that the heart actually sends more messages to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So when we shut our hearts down, and we in health professionals, of any field really, we're exposed to all the emotions that are bombarding us every day. And one way to cope is to close our heart down. Right? But when we do that, we're hardening our heart. And then we're shutting ourselves off from the evolution of our humanity, the evolution of our consciousness. And we also now know that what we are radiating out from this heart center can actually be detected in a field beyond us. So as a health professional, now we have to be really conscious and really intentional about how we enter space with another human being, because it can be for better or for worse. And some of the research that's been done on patients describing their experiences with health professionals. Some health professionals are described as making a patient feel worse. It's referred to in the literature as bioacidic, in contrast to biogenic. And biogenic conveys that these caring encounters, these caring moments, these caring connections, even what you've had this morning, are actually biogenic, they're life-giving, they're life-receiving for both of us. And we're connecting with that source when we have this connection that way with the consciousness to consciousness. So in the work that I'm doing then, more concretely, as a theory, I have described and defined 10 Caritas processes that help us name the phenomena that nurses in particular already know because they're doing it every day, but there's no name for it, there's no language for it. And in this postmodern era, it's a reminder that if you don't have your own language, you don't exist. And nursing is the largest health profession in the world, and largely has been invisible behind, or it's been on the margins of the dominant system, which is the techno-pure. And yet we're the ones doing all the caring, but we're so imbalanced. And so that's what I mean by the sleeping goddess has to wake from Malta, because it has to be the balancing. We're out of balance. And so where the theory lives, though, is through that transpersonal caring moment. It's larger than the two people coming together because we're affecting the whole field around us now. So nurses who are doing this work have to be conscious and are becoming increasingly conscious and intentional, is what I'm calling the Caritas conspiracy, by their actual practicing of this loving kindness and equanimity and radiating this heart-centered approach for themselves. And now nurses are saying, oh, I'm not going to do that just for myself. I'm going to start my day with patients that way and have them go into their heart-centered space and let their heart tell them what they need for their healing for this day or this time. So that's the caring moment. But the caring moment is informed by our consciousness, by our waking up, our intentionality, and by some of the heart-centered methodologies and modalities that we can concretely use as tools and technologies of the human to transform self and system. And the last is having to do with all those heart-centered approaches that I'm referring to that have been invisible. So this is a quick example of one of the hospitals, which is one of the National Magnet Hospitals, as an example of all these Caritas processes that are named and defined and guiding nurses using computerized documentation and so forth as they go through this. This is the first Caritas process, is identifying altruistic humanistic values and how do we sustain that through this cultivation of love and kindness and through some of those approaches with the heart-centered methodologies, and the very moment becomes a critical turning point and thus is affecting the entire field in which we are working. So I'm going to just switch now and just give you briefly some snapshots of examples of how nurses are translating this larger carrying science theory into their practices, creating healing environments, using ritualizing of hand washing. It's not just running in to wash your hands, but it's an intentional consciousness, calming, centering, quieting down, intentionally blessing and releasing that last person or situation so you can be more available to the next situation. These are things that nurses have created. This is an example of the heart-centered methodology that nurses are doing. They're doing their lights, having quiet time, really transforming subtleties as well as overt reminders of affirmations, having magnets on the doors with these affirmations or elements of the theory to remind them to pause and breathe and fall into their heart center, to connect authentically with that person as they enter that space, using this culture of carefulness to protect the person giving medications, to make sure that they're conscious and intentional with their practices, creating healing spaces for each other. As a reminder then of this ethics of face and hand that underpins this work, and I'm going to bring closure by this reminder that we literally and metaphorically, as health professionals, hold another person's life in our hands, and we are the source for sustaining our own and others' humanity. And with that is the ethics of face, the other part of Levinas's work. And the ethics of face is that when we look into the face of another human being, we're looking into the mystery and infinity of the human soul. And it mirrors back the mystery and infinity of our own soul. And when we touch that infinite source that unites us in the world of our identity and invites mystery back into our work and in our lives, and in silence, I'm going to just remind us of this circle of connections between human caring and inner peace and outer peace through faces, the ethics of face. Levinas says the only way we can sustain humanity at this very point in time is through the face-to-face connection. And it's also a reminder that if you just see faces of people across our planet, our world, we're all united through our shared humanity, and it returns us to the light of our humanity. And I'm going to close with a Chinese proverb that reminds us of our light, that if there's light in the soul, there's beauty in the person. If there's beauty in the person, there's harmony in the house, or the system, or society. If there's harmony in the house, there's order in the nation. And if there's order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. And in March 2012, I'm involved as co-chair of a conference on caring and peace that's going to be held in Hiroshima, Japan, and co-sponsored by the Watson Caring Science Institute and the Red Cross University College of Nursing. So you can be open to consider taking your own light and going in peace and joining us for that conference. thank you very much for letting me be part of this.